Hello, 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 my loves. As always, I hope that this live or this replay finds you well and in excellent spirits. Happy Monday, and welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro Forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host, I'm your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So, this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation for everyday life. So, if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So, this is the weekly Astro forecast for the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2025. All right, so how are we feeling? It's been kind of okay, hasn't it? I'd like to say. I think we've gotten past a lot of the really tumultuous energy. I know last week we had kind of a slow, less than dramatic week. And thankfully, this week is a lot more of the same, not too much going on. And what is going on is pretty pleasant. So you can relax as we make our way to the full moon of the month, which is happening in Scorpio, which is happening next week. And so this is sort of the build up to that in terms of the momentum. All right. And so, like I said, not too much going on, but of major importance this week is the fact that Mercury will be moving into Taurus, which is always, I want to say it's not really that eventful, if I'm being honest, but it is a really good transit or planetary ingress, I should say, to strengthen your mindset. All right, everything about Taurus is about stability, it's about finances. And when you have Mercury in the stubborn sign of the bull, this is when you can really stand on business, hence the title of tonight's live, and really get your mind in the right place in order to affect more stability in your life. All right. But other than that, everything else looks pretty good, thankfully. All right. So before we get into all of the details of the astrology for the week, of course, housekeeping and announcements. So if you're joining me live here tonight, thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you. Say hi on your way in and hit that like button, please. And thank you. It is one of the best ways to support the channel. It lets the algorithm know that you like this content, so it'll push it out to other people who may like it as well. And if you are watching this on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. Hopefully, you find what you are looking for in this broadcast, whether it's information, confirmation, illumination, enlightenment. Hopefully, you find it here. And if that is the case, hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. All right. So, in terms of announcements, I have just launched what I like to call my Lunar Living Starter Pack. All right. And this is a really great way to start implementing a lot of the astrology that you are learning. All right. So basically, it is a lunar tracker and it helps you set intentions. It has journal prompts. If you are a woman, it helps you track your cycle. It's everything that you need to start living with. Not living with the astrology, living by the astrology. Because my endeavor here is not just to give you astrology jargon and teach you astrology things. I'm teaching you this and I'm bringing forth this information so you can implement it into your life. Okay. And this is one of the best ways to start to learn how to do that. And it is absolutely free. It's a Notion template, so it's a digital workbook that allows you to track the transits of the moon, set intentions, all of that great stuff. All right. And if you are interested, the link will be in the description box below. All right. And as we are still in Taurus season, my Taurus season offering, which is your Taurus season wealth map, is live and it is ready to go. So if you want to know how to make the most of Taurus season energy, particularly as it relates to finances and money, then this is definitely the offering for you. Okay, so it's a 30-minute pre-recorded reading to let you know what's going on for you specifically during Taurus season based on your natal chart. Plus, you get a digital workbook as well so that you can start getting your finances in order and learn how to use astrology to do so. All right. And so, if you're interested, the link is in the description box below. Plus, it is also tagged to this video. All right. So, that's pretty much it by way of announcements, housekeeping, all that stuff. Let's get into what's going on this week. And of course, we start with the theme. which I mentioned before is stand on business. And this is because Mercury will be moving into the sign of Taurus later this week, specifically on Saturday. All right. So, what does that mean, stand on business? Taurus energy is phenomenal for stability. Okay. Taurus energy is stable. Ugh, I love when this happens. And this seems to happen every single week. You would think I would have fixed it by now, but I keep forgetting. In any event, Taurus energy is great for stability. It's great for building foundations. And if you're someone who's not new to the spiritual journey, and if you're someone who is familiar with manifestation, you will know that thoughts become things. Everything that appears in our outer reality began first as a thought and began as someone's imagination, essentially, right? So if you're trying to build a new foundation, Mercury and Taurus will definitely help you do that. It'll help you stabilize when it comes to finances, when it comes to stability, when it comes to money, material possessions, right? All of those Taurian like things. If those are the things that you want to focus on at this time, well, then Mercury and Taurus will give you the opportunity to really hone in and stabilize your mind. Okay. It's almost like you're fixated on something. You know how Taurus is famous for being stubborn, and a bull is very hard to move, right? So essentially, Mercury and Taurus is basically like calling for you to not be double minded, to not waver. It's pretty much almost about making a decision on something and really standing by that, right? And really being willing to put in the effort and the work to bring it to fruition. Okay. This is also a great transit for conversations about money, transactions involving money, learning Taurian like things. You know, Taurus is ruled by Venus. And even though it has a lot to do with finances and money, Taurus, as expressed, or I should say Venus as expressed through Taurus, has a lot to do with beauty, material possessions, self worth, value. And this is super important because whether you're trying to change your financial situation, whether you're trying to make more money, change jobs, do any of those sort of financial kind of things, at the core of all of that is going to be your belief about yourself. And Mercury in Taurus is really a great time to perhaps refresh your self concepts, take stock of how you think about yourself, your beliefs about yourself, make some tweaks and changes if necessary, because that's going to be the stable foundation upon which you can change your financial situation or your money situation, right? Again, Venus is not just about money, it's about worth and value. Okay. And so, what do you think about yourself? What do you believe about yourself? What's your self esteem looking or feeling like right now? Right? What value do you think you provide or do you believe that you have? Right? These are some of the questions that Mercury in Taurus is going to ask of you. And not just ask in order for you to just answer, but answer in a way that you stand 10 toes down on it. Okay. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, I'm strong in myself. I have a healthy self concept. My self esteem is high, right? And maybe if it's not, this is going to be a great transit to help you get into that mindset. Okay, so that's definitely something important to remember this week. So, whatever it is, and with Taurus ruling finances, this could be a time when you are um, fine tuning business, particularly if you're a business owner, even if you work for someone else, if you're an employee, kind of fine tuning your work. That's also a great use of the energy with this transit. All right. So stand on business, get your mind right. Get your mind attuned to the frequency of abundance, to the frequency of stability, to the frequency of a healthy self esteem and a healthy self worth. By doing that during this season and during this transit, this is when you can actually begin to make changes. Because let's be real, all of us want more money. All of us want great financial situations. All of us want booming businesses. All of us want, fat bank accounts, padded with cash, right? We all want these things. But what do you think is the difference between the people that have it and the people that don't? Now, there are many differences. I'm not going to, get into semantics here, but a fundamental difference is how people view money or view themselves, right? People who tend to be wealthy, people who tend to be financially stable, they expect that, right? It's never a thing to them. Even if their bank account dips below where they want it to, even if they lose out on a deal, even if something financial by way of a catastrophe happens to them, they expect money, they expect wealth. And when you expect wealth, it has to show up, right? Also, people who deem themselves valuable, right? If you are valuable, money is attracted to you. That's a very sexy and seductive energy that money absolutely loves, right? So even if, let's say, your money is dwindling, but if you are someone who believes themselves to be, worthy and valuable and deserving, you may attract someone else that's got money who wants to share it with you. You may attract people who are generous with you, right? This is the essence or part of the essence of the Taurus energy signature. And so when Mercury moves into Taurus, this is how we think, this is how we communicate. We communicate from a place of self worth, we communicate from a place of value, right? So, this is how you make use of the energy. This is not the time to be speaking lack. This is not the time to be speaking poverty. This is not the time to be thinking thoughts that are not in alignment with the best version of yourself. Because clearly the astrology supports it. The astrology is like, listen, I'm giving you this boost. I'm giving you this energy for you to get your mind right. And it's not to say that you just wake up one day and all right, especially if you haven't had the best self image or self esteem as of late. You're not just going to wake up one day and be like, okay, I'm fine now. No, Mercury in Taurus allows you to put in that work because, again, Taurus is a sign of work. Taurus loves great things. Taurus loves luxury. Taurus loves comfort, but Taurus is willing to work for those things, okay, and build a foundation to support those things. This is the time for you to do your affirmations. This is the time for you to maybe even do subliminals. This is the time for you to really monitor the things that you are watching, the things that you are listening to. I Hello, Scorpio Muse. Good to see you. Thank you so much for showing up to tonight's live. So, I was having this discussion over on Threads not long ago, and everything everything is a frequency, everything is a vibration, right? And so I was talking to someone about how there is this influencer, right? And this is a financial influencer. So all of their content, essentially, it looks like the bulk of their money comes from finance content, right? And yet they have the word broke in their name. I'm not going to put the name because I don't want to put this person on blast, but it's like the first part of their handle, their name, their brand is the broke. And I was like, whoa, like that's a little problematic, right? Because what is the frequency of broke, right? What is the frequency? It's the frequency of lack. It's like you're attuning to the station of lack, right? Mercury in Taurus is like, I'm giving you the opportunity to correct that. I'm giving you the opportunity to get your mind right, get your frequency attuned to the vibration of abundance, the vibration of proliferation, to the vibration of wealth, all of those things. So while we're still in the season of Taurus, which will last for another 2 weeks, this is the frequency that you want to focus on. Now, of course, you're going to want to pay attention to where Taurus is in your natal chart. This will also let you know, apart from just the energy of abundance, wealth, business, all of that stuff, what area of life this transit is affecting, or no, I'm saying that wrong. What area of life is affected with this transit, specifically Mercury and Taurus. So take a look at that. Get your affirmations, do mirror work. Mirror work is one of my favorites. Subliminals, whatever you need to do to attune to the frequency of wealth and abundance, the astrology will support it once Mercury goes into Taurus at the end of this week. All right, so speaking of the week, let's get into the details and see exactly what we've got going on this week. All right, so this is what we've got going on. Nothing too crazy. So first, today, actually, we've got Mercury sextile Jupiter. Then we've got Mercury conjunct Chiron, Venus sextile Pluto. And then, as I mentioned before, Mercury will be entering Taurus. All right, so let's see what the moon is doing this week. So we are gearing up to the full moon in Scorpio, which is happening next week. And so this week, the moon is waxing. It will actually be in the waxing gibbous phase all week in the signs of Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into the week day by day and see what we got going on. And first, we start with today. So we've got Mercury sextile Jupiter and the waxing gibbous moon in Virgo. All right, let's see what this looks like on the chart. All right, so we've got Mercury sextile Jupiter. So at the very right-hand portion of the chart, you'll see Mercury at 22 degrees of Aries. Then at the upper right-hand portion of the chart, you will see Jupiter at 22 degrees of Gemini. And then at the upper left-hand portion of the chart, you will see the moon at 1 degree of Virgo. All right, so let's chat. Hello, Ada. How are you? Very nice to see you. Thanks for joining us live this evening. All right, so let's talk about Mercury sextile Jupiter. Okay, so this is a very expansive transit. It's going to be opportunities to expand, okay? Expand your mind and expand your personal goals, okay? So this could really be a transit that has you thinking really big, thinking about things that you desire, thinking about new goals, new things that you would like to begin, okay? In a very 30,000 foot view kind of way, meaning while this really could be a transit that has you making plans, I feel like it's one of those transits where you're dreaming or where you're really thinking about big picture things, big ticket items, perhaps even long range or long term goals. And what I love about sextiles is that it denotes opportunities. So perhaps there's something going on in your external environment that triggers something within you to start something new, to think of a new plan, or something that awakens something in you, and now you have a new desire and you have a new goal, right? And this goal could be, again, very far reaching. It could be very big. It could be long term, even, right? But the thing that I really like about this transit is that it has this spiciness to it. So, whatever you're desiring at this time, it's almost like it's going to feel very impulsive. It's going to feel very fiery, like you get fired up or really motivated about something, right? So pay attention to whatever's going on in your immediate environment, right? Because this could spark something within you. You know, I feel like today, as I was working today, I feel like I very much embodied the energy of this transit. I had this idea that sort of came out of nowhere, but that felt so good and felt so aligned. And it kind of set the stage for a lot of other things to come. So that's definitely a way that you could experience this transit. But here's the thing, when we're talking about sextiles, and again, this is Mercury sextile Jupiter. Opportunities may present themselves, but obviously you have free will. So perhaps you don't want to take advantage of this opportunity, or maybe your plate is full and you don't have the bandwidth to, which is fine. However, if you are someone who is looking to make a change, looking to expand, if you're really developing yourself at this time, this is going to be the energy where you really want to pay attention to what's going on around you, because opportunities for expansion will definitely present themselves, okay? And they could be very advantageous. We've got Jupiter in the mix. So Jupiter is the planet of abundance. So this could be a time when really fruitful or abundant opportunities, perhaps opportunities that really spark something within you, present themselves. And you probably don't want to miss out on those, okay? But pay attention and use your discernment, right? The thing with Jupiter in Gemini is that it could bring a lot of ideas, a plethora of ideas, but you have to use your discernment because not every idea is a banger. Not every idea is $1 million idea. Not every idea needs to be prioritized at this time. Okay. So the best thing that I would suggest, keep a notebook or a piece of paper handy to write down your ideas so you don't forget them. One of my favorite things to do is to use my phone and either, create a voice note or use my notes app to jot down anything that comes to mind so I don't forget it so that I could revisit it later on. Because again, a lot of opportunities could present themselves, but it may not be the time to act on all of them. And I use the word act intentionally because with this transit and with Mercury being in Aries, this isn't just, oh, this is a great idea. This is like idea plus action put together. And sort of that could be your litmus test with respect to sort of what you give your attention and effort to. If you find that you can't act on this idea or act on these opportunities, and maybe it's not the right time or maybe it's not the right idea or opportunity. However, it's like you're cooking with gas right now and you kind of have to strike while the iron is hot. So once you get this idea, once this opportunity presents itself, you kind of want to hit the ground running. Okay. So be prepared, right? And it's not just today. It's within the next couple of days, or you may have already started experiencing this since the end of last week. All right. So keep that in mind. Keep your eyes and ears open for anything that could really spark your interest, be of interest, be a great idea to start something new, perhaps be a little creative. This could also have to do with teaching, learning, research, transacting business, any personal goals. This is a really great transit to start something new, particularly something that you are passionate about. All right. Then today also we have the moon moving into the sign of Virgo. Okay. And it's waxing gibbous in Virgo. So the waxing gibbous phase is the phase right before the full moon. And this is sort of that last meter of the race, right? Where you kind of have to keep pushing, keep moving forward to get to the finish line, right? So this is about ramping up action. And when we talk about ramping up action and we talk about Virgo, this is about cleaning, this is about organizing, this is about getting your shit together. Okay. Virgo likes everything to be like a well oiled machine. Efficiency, perfection, paying attention to the details, right? All of these are important actions when we're talking about manifesting and bringing things to fruition. So it may be time to clean up, it may be time to review or revise certain things. Make sure all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, everything looks good. Like Virgo loves that kind of work. So this is basically the time to double or even triple check your work, right? And by work, it depends on what you're manifesting, but you kind of just want to take stock of where you're at, what needs tweaking, and adjust accordingly. That's the best use of the energy when the moon is waxing gibbous in the sign of Virgo. All right. Yes, Virgo is also health, right? Physical health. So if you are making some adjustments to your diet, to your workout routine, you may also want to do that while the moon is waxing in Virgo. Okay. You want to pay attention to where Virgo is in your natal chart. This is where the moon is currently transiting. So this will let you know what to tweak, what needs a little bit of perfecting, what needs a little, revising or reviewing. But yes, Virgo does also cover health. All right. So that's Monday. So let's move on to Tuesday. All right, so on Tuesday, tomorrow, we've got Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries, and then we've got Venus in Aries sextile Pluto in Aquarius. All right, so let's see what this looks like on the chart. All right, so you will see at the right-hand side of the chart, Mercury and Chiron are both at 24 degrees of Aries. Then you'll also see a little further down, Venus is at 3 degrees of Aries. And at the very bottom of the chart, you will see Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius. All right, so let's talk about it. Oh, no problem. My pleasure. So, Mercury conjunct Chiron. Now, anytime we talk about Chiron, things can get a little sensitive because Chiron is known as the wounded healer, and Chiron represents our insecurities, our emotional hangups. It's our Achilles heel, essentially. Okay. And so, with Chiron and Aries, we are really motivated, determined even to kind of address these insecurities, these fears, these emotional hangups, right? And then when you've got Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries, it's like fixating your mind on overcoming these emotional obstacles or overcoming these insecurities, right? Chiron has been in Aries for quite some time. And when Chiron gets activated, meaning when a planet hits it, when a planet is conjuncted, or when a planet is in aspect to Chiron, it's sort of a reminder that you have to be brave, you have to be courageous in order to overcome these insecurities, right? It's one of those things where I could teach you how to swim by showing you videos. I could even do a demonstration in the pool, right, while you watch. But really, the way for you to learn how to swim is to jump in the water and try. Oh, you've got Chiron and Aries in your first house. Yeah, that's a tough one. And so you're definitely getting the very the intensity of Chiron and Aries, especially this Chiron and Aries transit. So Godspeed, because I know it's not the easiest transit to deal with. But yes, the best way for you to learn how to swim is to get in the water, right? As scary as it may be, as afraid as you may be that you may drown or that something may happen, that's the best way to learn how to swim. And so when Chiron and Aries gets activated, it's requiring you to be brave, to be fearless, to look that insecurity or that emotional hang up in the face and say, listen, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm overcoming this. I'm doing what I need to do to get to the other side of this. Perfect example, especially with a transit like Mercury conjunct Chiron. Maybe you have a fear of public speaking. Maybe you don't like to lead meetings. Maybe you like to just sit in the cut and observe, right? Public speaking makes you nervous. It's not your thing. You always feel like you don't speak well. Maybe you make mistakes. Maybe you feel like people don't understand you. You can't express yourself, whatever. And now all of a sudden, you've been promoted at work and you're a team leader, you're a supervisor, you're a manager, whatever. You have to lead meetings. Not only are you leading meetings in person, but you're also talking to people remotely. So maybe in any given meeting, you're talking to at least 30 or 40 people. And that scares you. Every week you go with sweaty palms because you're like, am I going to miss something? It's my presentation. But here's the thing, it's like you have to do it. The only way to overcome that fear is to face it and go through it, right? And what happens after a couple of weeks, right? After a couple of weeks, you're not scared anymore. Your palms aren't sweating. You've developed a cadence. You have a certain style that you execute every week. And every week you get better and better and better. And before you know it, what used to be something that you were afraid of, something that you were insecure about, is now second nature because you did it. You did the thing. That's what Chiron and Aries wants you to do. And with Mercury conjunct Chiron, this is setting your mind to overcoming this insecurity. This is psyching yourself up, saying, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to overcome this. For a lot of people, this can be an insecurity of expression. So Mercury conjunct Chiron may have you expressing yourself in a way that could have you feeling insecure or fearful or triggering some sort of emotional trauma, right? But doing that, doing the thing, expressing yourself, saying what you need to say is how you're going to overcome this. But before you express yourself, it all starts in here. So you have to fix your mind to overcoming this insecurity, overcoming this fear. And Mercury conjunct Chiron is going to have you do just that. But remember, you have to be brave, you have to be courageous, and like Nike says, just do it. That is the essence of Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries. Then that same day, we've got Venus sextile Pluto, which is going to give some real gravity to the energy of the day. Anytime we have Pluto being activated, it's intense. It signifies endings, new beginnings, regeneration, control, power, all of these really heavy kind of energies. However, with Venus sextile Pluto, this is a great transit to make changes, particularly changes that you want to experience in the future. Now, Venus is also in Aries. So, this is about starting something new, perhaps starting something new that is Venusian, meaning relationships, money, fairness, equality, beauty, harmony, peace. This is a great transit to extend an olive branch and mend a relationship. This is a great branch to start something new that could bring in more money, that could change your financial situation. This is the time to perhaps shoot your shot when it comes to a relationship. You never know. The person that you shoot your shot to could end up being your spouse in the future, right? This could also be the time when maybe you want to initiate a divorce. You want to initiate a separation. That works too under this transit. Maybe you want to end something financially, cut someone off financially, and a job and an income stream. It goes both ways. Either way, if you're willing to make a change, right? And remember, Venus is in Aries. Aries is about doing. Like, what did I say before? Just do it, right? This is going to be a transit. If you just do it, the effects of it could be very intense and long lasting, or this could cut something off for good. Okay. And Pluto just went retrograde yesterday, as a matter of fact. So some of this change and transformation could really be from the inside out. Okay, so that's very important to pay attention to as well. Let's see. Scorpio Muse says, my Pluto is in Scorpio and I feel a deepening need to transform creatively. Yes. Pluto in Scorpio, that generation they are the disruptors. They are the change makers. And whenever Pluto, which is one of the ruling planets of Scorpio, is activated, Scorpios feel it the most. All right. So if you want to make a change, Venus sextile Pluto is going to be a really great transit for that. And again, it's also a sextile. So it means that opportunities for change are going to present themselves. And again, you've got free will. You could take advantage of it if you want to or if you don't. But the opportunities are going to present themselves nonetheless. All right. So that's Tuesday. So now let's move on to Thursday. Thursday is a light day. We've got the waxing gibbous moon in Libra. Let's see what this looks like on the chart. All right. So at the upper right hand portion of the chart, you will see the moon at 0 degrees of Libra. All right. So we are making our way to the full moon in Scorpio next week. So when the moon is waxing in Libra, we understand that equality is a thing and cooperation is a thing. I always like to say when the moon is in Libra, it's like no man is an island, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. And a lot of times the things that we want to achieve, the things that we want to bring to fruition, we can use some help. Perhaps there are people who can help us out, right? Perhaps there are people who can give us advice, people who can help us with resources, help us even see things from a different perspective, right? Libra is a social sign. So when the moon is in Libra, it's a great time to involve people in what you're doing, provided that that makes sense, right? But one of the best uses of, or one of the best aspects of Libra energy is balance. And so when it comes to the things that we're trying to bring into fruition, when the moon is in Libra, it's like, where am I experiencing imbalance? Where are things out of whack? Where am I not being fair to myself? Where are the scales not balanced, right? The moon in Libra allows us to establish balance, which means that we have to make perhaps some difficult decisions, maybe have some difficult conversations, recalibrate certain things to restore balance with respect to whatever this is, or maybe we're seeking help. Either way, again, When we're talking about Libra, no man is an island. Teamwork makes the dream work. And so if you need help, ask for it. I feel like that's one of the best ways to use the waxing gibbous moon in Libra energy. Okay, that is Thursday. And then finally, we get to Saturday. And so on Saturday, we've got Mercury entering Taurus. And then we have the waxing gibbous moon in Scorpio. All right, let's see what this looks like on the chart. Okay, so you will see at the upper right-hand portion of the chart, Mercury is at 0 degrees of Taurus. And then at the other end, exactly opposite, you will see that the moon is at 0 degrees of Scorpio. So on Saturday, Mercury is going to be opposite the moon, okay? And this can be a little intense because anytime we involve Scorpio in anything, it always brings a certain level of depth, substance, and intensity, okay? So first, Mercury and Taurus. I kind of talked about this earlier, so there isn't too much to reiterate here with respect to that. But again, fix your mind on something that you want to stabilize in your life. That'll be the best use of the energy. It's a great it's a great transit to think about finances, about stability, about your self-worth and your self-esteem, right? All the stuff that I reiterated before, I'm reiterating again now. All right. So you'll want to get your affirmations up, your subliminals, anything to get your mind on or to get your mind attuned to the frequency of wealth, abundance, value, self-worth. You're going to want to do that once Mercury goes into Taurus. Okay. And then finally, we have the moon waxing in the sign of Scorpio. So we're making our way to the full moon in Scorpio happening next Monday. And when the moon is waxing in Scorpio, it is shadow work. Even though the moon is waxing, right? And waxing is about action, it's about aggregation, it's about doing, right? Scorpio is the sign of death and rebirth. And I always like to think of Scorpio energy as like pruning or uprooting certain things, right? You have a garden, you're trying to make sure that you have a healthy crop of vegetables or whatever it is. You're going to have to prune, you're going to have to take out the weeds. Like that's very emblematic of Scorpio energy. And so when we're talking about bringing things to fruition, when we're talking about reaching that full moon phase where things come to a culmination, right? You got to let go of the things that stand in the way of that. You got to do some pruning. You got to do some uprooting, right? Bad habits, obsessions, even lower vibrational energies. When the moon is in Scorpio, you kind of get aware of those things, right? Maybe when it comes to something that you're manifesting or any intention that you've set, maybe you are having an issue with comparison. And I know this is something that we all suffer from at times, right? You've got something that you're working on, but then of course you're scrolling through social media. You see someone else doing it faster, better. They claim to be making more money. They look more beautiful. And all of a sudden you're feeling jealous or envious or you're feeling bad about yourself. Moon and Scorpio was like, all right, let's get down to the bottom of this. Very therapeutic or like therapy in a way. Why do you feel that way? What is this stemming from? And more importantly, how is this feeling of jealousy or envy affecting what you're doing? Right? Jealousy is really just information, right? Jealousy is like awakening something that's already within you. You wouldn't be jealous of something that you didn't want or that you couldn't do, right? You're only jealous because it's something that you want or something that you could do, but you currently don't have it or you're currently not doing it. That's why jealousy is it's just information. You shouldn't let it get the best of you, but it's a natural emotion that we all feel from time to time. So let that inform you. So like when the moon is in Scorpio, maybe you are feeling jealous or envious or whatever it is. That's the time for you to stop and examine that and say, listen, okay, I'm jealous of this. Why? Because I want to do this, because I want to have that. Okay, so what can I do to have this? What steps can I take to do this thing so that I'm not jealous anymore, so that I actually have the thing or am doing the thing? You get it? So, when it comes to these lower vibrational things, when it comes to the things that are under the surface, whenever the moon is in Scorpio, those things become illuminated and we have the ability to uproot them, to get rid of them, so that we have a healthy garden that produces a healthy crop and a healthy harvest. All right. And so that's how we end this week. All right. Like I said, nothing too bad. Actually, some pretty good things happening this week. We have the ability to create stability in our lives, starting with our mindset. We can overcome some insecurities. We have opportunities for change, opportunities to start something new. This is going to be a great week if you allow it. All right, my loves, thank you so much for tuning in. That concludes this weekly Astro forecast. For all of the information on my product, services, everything I've got going on right now, all of that is either tagged to the video or in the description box below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you nothing but the absolute best for this week and beyond. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place, same amazing content. All right, my loves, take care.